Imagine standing face to face with Spartacus, the legendary gladiator who defied an empire and led a slave rebellion that shook the world. Today we're diving deep into an imagined conversation with the man himself. We'll explore his life, his insatiable quest for freedom, and the rebellion that made him a timeless symbol of resistance. Hello, Spartacus. It's an honor to be speaking with you today. How are you?
I am well, Kai. It's not every day that I get the chance to converse in such a manner.
I can only imagine. Could you please start by telling us a bit about yourself?
I am Spartacus, a name many have come to know, though perhaps not the man behind it. I was a slave, a gladiator, and eventually, a leader of men. I led a rebellion against the might of Rome, not for personal glory, but for the freedom of my brothers and sisters in chains.
That's quite an introduction, a true testament to your strength and resilience. Now, before we proceed, could you describe the surroundings we find ourselves in right now?
We find ourselves in a place of tranquil refuge, nestled amidst the reminders of a world in turmoil. We sit upon a gentle hillside overlooking a verdant valley. The echoes of battle seem distant here, replaced by the whispers of the wind rustling through the trees and the occasional call of a bird overhead. The grass beneath us is cool and soft, offering respite and comfort. Nearby, a small stream murmurs a soothing melody. Despite our troubled times, nature flourishes in peaceful resilience around us.
What was life like for you before you became a gladiator?
Life before the arena was simple yet challenging. I was a Thracian, a herdsman by trade. I lived amongst my tribe, a part of nature with the changing seasons as our only real masters. I was a free man then, unaware of the chains that awaited me.
It's hard to imagine the transition from a herdsman to a gladiator. Can you tell us about your time in the gladiatorial school in Capua?
It was a place where men were reduced to their basest instincts, to kill or be killed. The hardest part wasn't the physical training, though it was brutal and relentless. It was the stripping away of our humanity, the constant reminder that we were less than men in the eyes of the Romans. Our lives were measured by the entertainment we could provide, not by our worth as individuals.
That's a harsh reality to face. Now let's talk about your leadership. How did you manage to unite so many disparate individuals and lead them against the mighty Roman Empire?
Leadership isn't about controlling others, it's about inspiring them, showing them a path towards a common goal. In our case, that goal was freedom.
You certainly sparked a revolution that resonates through history, but it must have been challenging to maintain unity among such a diverse group, all with their own desires and motivations. How did you navigate those challenges?
Sure, there were challenges and disagreements, but we were all united by the desire to live as free individuals. This shared dream was more powerful than any differences we might have had.
Now I'd like to ask about the more difficult aspects of your journey. What were some of the greatest challenges you faced during the uprising?
There were many challenges. Hunger, cold, fear. These were constant companions. But the greatest challenge was the power of Rome. We were not just fighting against men, we were fighting against an empire that had subdued much of the known world.
Yet you and your fellow gladiators stood against it, nonetheless. Before we delve into the uprising, I'd like to touch on your time as a gladiator. What was a typical day in the life of a gladiator?
Our days were dictated by rigorous training schedules. We trained with different types of weapons, learned different styles of fighting, and even practiced how to die in a manner that would please the audience. We were all trapped in the same hell, and in that we found an odd sense of brotherhood. The fights themselves, they were brutal. Despite what some might believe, not every match ended in death, but the threat of it hung over every moment in the sand.
That sounds incredibly tough. Can you tell me about the moment you decided to lead the rebellion against Rome?
It was an accumulation of injustices, of seeing my brothers and sisters in chains, of the constant indignity that we were subjected to. There was a woman, a priestess of Dionysus captured from Thrace like me. We were not allowed to be together, yet we found solace in each other's company in stolen moments. It was during an attempt to separate us, to sell her to a different master, that the spark of rebellion was truly lit.
That's incredibly moving, Spartacus. Could you share with us the most challenging moment of your journey, the time when you felt all hope was lost?
There was a moment that tested me to the core. It was after the defeat at the Sila River. Our forces had been split, and the Roman legions had us cornered. Looking at the forces arrayed against us, for the first time I felt fear, not for myself, but for those who had put their trust in me. I feared that I had led them to their doom. It was the darkest hour.
That sounds like an incredibly tough moment. What was it like to lead so many diverse people?
It was difficult. We were all from different walks of life, different cultures, speaking different languages. The only thing that united us was our shared misery and a burning desire for freedom.
Could you share a memory of someone who was particularly close to you during this time?
There was a man, Crixus, a fellow gladiator and a comrade. We fought side by side in many battles. His strength and courage were matched only by his passion for freedom. But
I'm sorry if bringing up these memories is causing you pain. We can move on to another topic if you wish.
I'd prefer to discuss something else if that's all right.
Let's delve into the uprising. What strategies and tactics did you employ to challenge the might of Rome?
The Romans were formidable, yes, but they were also predictable. They relied on their formations, their discipline. We, on the other hand, had to be adaptable, innovative. We were not a traditional army. We did not have the luxury of extensive training or superior weaponry. We had to use what we had, and we had to use it well.
Can you give us some examples?
Certainly. One tactic we used often was the ambush. We'd let the Romans think they had us cornered, and then we'd strike when they least expected it. We'd use the terrain to our advantage, striking from high ground or using natural obstacles to hinder their advance.
That's fascinating. At the peak of your rebellion, how many people would you estimate were following you?
Our numbers swelled with each victory. Slaves, gladiators, and those oppressed by the Republic's tyranny came to our cause. It's difficult to estimate, but at our peak, we may have been as many as 120,000 strong.
That's truly inspiring. And during this rebellion, did you ever fear that it might not succeed?
Fear is a constant in battle, but we didn't have the luxury of dwelling on it. We had to believe in our cause, believe that we could win, and for a time we did. We won battles, we freed slaves, but in the end,
the rebellion was quelled and you were killed. Looking back on it now, do you have any regrets?
I did what I had to do, what I believed was right. If given the chance, I would do it all again. The rebellion may have failed, but the idea of it, the dream of freedom, that lives on.
Spartacus, your story is a powerful one. We've spoken about your life as a gladiator and a leader of a massive rebellion. On a different note, how do you feel about how you're remembered? Many see you as a hero.
I have been called many things in my lifetime, and no doubt in the years since. A hero, a rebel, a menace. But I did not fight for titles or to be remembered a certain way. I fought for freedom, for my own and for my fellow slaves. If that makes me a rebel, then so be it. I am a rebel.
It's clear you were driven by a deep sense of justice and desire for freedom. Speaking of influences, were there any individuals, living or deceased, who had a significant influence on you?
In truth, I owe a great deal to my fellow gladiators. They were the ones who gave me strength when I felt weak. They were the ones who made me understand that freedom is not a gift to be bestowed, but a right to be fought for.
During your time leading the rebellion, you must have crossed paths with other significant figures. There's one name that comes to mind, Julius Caesar. What was your interaction with him like, if any?
Julius Caesar. Yes, he was a young officer at the time of my rebellion, serving under Crassus, if I recall correctly. We didn't interact directly, but his name was already making the rounds. People said he was ambitious, a man with a vision.
Looking back at your life and what you achieved, what message would you like to give to the people of today?
My message would be simple. Never let your circumstances define who you are or what you can achieve. Each of us, regardless of our status or position in society, has the capacity for greatness. We must fight for our freedom and for the freedom of others. We must stand up to injustice and tyranny, no matter the cost. Remember that the chains that bind us are not always physical. They can be mental or emotional too. These chains can be even harder to break, but break them we must.
Thank you for joining us on this imagined interview with Spartacus. If you enjoyed this journey through history and imagination, don't forget to subscribe for more captivating stories. And always remember, true exploration is not the land it covers, but the journey it inspires. See you on the next adventure.